So let's take a look at the Wood Memorial. This had some surprises in it for sure. On a big field, that'll often happen, and it was a pretty good race. It was disappointing too, for as we'll see, but I think we had a good race, and I think, as with these 100-point races, it did answer some questions for us. So let's take a look at
the
it.
Wood Memorial, presented by Resorts World Casino, and
Now we see Uncle Heavy was off slow, and Elysian Meadows, I think this was the plan to draw back right away. The thing I noted more than anything else, we kind of thought that we'd have the grouping we did up front, but Society Man was a lot more forwardly placed than expected, and he ran a big race, I thought. Merit was the one I couldn't keep my eyes off. You see how ranked that horse was. Just didn't want any part of laying back, and obviously it cost him. He just threw in the towel. Gettysburg Address was nowhere too, and the two of them right together. Deposition certainly was an unfortunate ending in the race, but was looked to have was running an improved effort, to be sure. Tuscan Sky, you see how far back he was. I don't know if there was an anticipation of some heavy pace or not, but he just really didn't give himself any chance to win the race with using that tactic.
They've got to catch the big long shots. Evening News and Lonesome Boy, who's under a drive. Here comes
and Protective actually looked pretty good coming from the clouds, but these are all suck-ups at this point. I mean, even Uncle Heavy, he kind of flattened out. Deterministic, I really don't have an answer. I can't figure out what happened to him. He just, maybe it was just bouncing off a big effort off the bench. I don't know, but he just flattened right out, was no factor at all. But look at Society Man, continues on, and Resilience, we thought was going to run a big one, and he did, and offered a decent price. Could have been a little better, as always, but really solid win for Resilience, and appears to be taking a move forward, and may have something to see out of him in the Derby. We'll have to see, but he seems to be definitely heading the right direction. He's certainly got the right trainer in Bill Mott to get the most out of him. So let's take a look and see how they grade it out. So if we look at this grade out, we'll see we got two incompletes. Obviously, El Grandeo scratching out. Really a shame that he had to scratch out. I think he would have factored very deeply in this race, and who knows, he might have changed the result. And, of course, Deposition, clip and heels, that was unfortunate. Really thought that horse was running an improved effort after being so one-paced in his earlier starts. Really showed signs of moving forward, so it's pretty unfortunate. Excuse me. Resilience obviously gets an A. It was an excellent effort, rated right off the leaders. Took over in the stretch and then had a sustained drive in the lead, which I really like to see. And obviously, this horse is headed in the right direction, and we knew it had some quality at 2, and we'll see what the Derby brings. Lonesome Boy, I thought, validated the improved numbers over the last couple races. I thought ran a huge race to stay up amongst the leaders and stick around for 4th. He gets a B+. Deterministic was a no-go. I don't know what happened. I couldn't see anything other than the fact I think this one just bounced off a big effort in the Gotham off the bench. That's really the only conclusion I can make. May still be able. I think is probably going to still be in the Derby. So I would expect coming off of that, we'll have an improved effort in the next race, wherever that is, and hopefully it'll be the Derby. But this one was a total dud, and so it gets a D. Protective, we're going to give a B because he did make a move a little earlier than some of the other closers and had a sustained run on the backstretch and then into the stretch, but was really a non-factor. Wasn't going to factor in the race whatsoever, and so it's a B because it was a pretty good effort, but it's kind of a gentleman's B, if you want my opinion. Evening News stayed up, did all the heavy lifting up on the lead, and I thought ran a good race and stuck around probably longer than I thought maybe he would. So he gets a C+, but was no threat to win the race. Merit was terrible, just was rank. So it would be an F, but I'll give it D- because the horse wanted to run. The jockey didn't want him to. He was very questionable, or very iffy as far as being competitive in this race. But he did look like he wanted to get up amongst the leaders. But I just don't think he's just been overrated steadily, and so I'll pass on him. I just don't think he wants two turns. Elysian Meadows, I think the plan right off the bat was just to keep this horse in the rear and then hustle up and maybe get up for third or fourth, because they took him back immediately, didn't really show any interest in running until very late, and made a non-factoring close. So C-. Tuscan Sky, I don't know what happened to Tuscan Sky. I think tactically they kept the horse too far back, and by the time it was ready to roll, I think the race was already lost for him. Flattened out, really didn't show anything, and was a complete non-factor in the race, but rallied mildly, I guess you could say, in the stretch. So I'll give a C-, but really disappointing from Tuscan Sky. Gettysburg was nowhere. Basically threw in the towel on the backstretch, and I didn't like this horse going in, and he's just a head scratcher. Somebody someday is going to figure out how to get the best out of this horse. They did see something in him, but he just has not shown it this year or last, and just really he's nowhere. Society Man was the star of the day, in my opinion. I thought ran a huge race. This horse was a dead closer, stayed up amongst the leaders, had plenty in the tank, wasn't fast enough to get the job done, but ran a huge effort. And boy, if you backed him at 99-1, you got a hell of a good exacta. So kudos to you. I thought he'd be third or fourth at best, but ran a big race, and that's the Wood Memorial the last couple of years has bred some big odds. So Society Man ran a hell of an effort. Don't know if he can back that up with another move forward in the Derby, but we'll see if they decide to run him there. Obviously, Deposition, we know what happened there. Uncle Heavy broke slow, was too far back to factor in this race, and closed mildly, but not enough to factor, and so he was also a disappointment, so he gets a C-. So in sum, if you look at this race overall, you only had a couple horses who really wanted to be there, who really ran good races, and that was Resilience and Society Man. The rest of them, were nowhere, pretty much. It was a race chock full of disappointment. You just go right down the line. Deterministic, Tuscan Sky, Gettysburg Address, Uncle Heavy. So it was certainly a quality win for Resilience. I would say that. But I think this field really wasn't that great, particularly when you see you have two horses who were considered to be chalky in this one, Deterministic and Tuscan Sky, both run non-factor races. So it's a good effort for Resilience, but I don't know. Perhaps if Resilience had run in the Bluegrass, I don't know if he could have stayed with that group. So we'll see what happens in the Derby, but I don't know if you can get really jazzed about anybody coming out of this race for the first Saturday in May.